Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. As usual, what is enrichment? You're going to improve your comprehension skill, your vocabulary, grammar consolidation, effective English, not mini mocks. What is this editorial about? The editorial discusses the increasing international recognition of the state of Palestine. It is all about recognition of the state of Palestine by the international community, many countries. What is the tone of the editorial? The tone of the editorial is a critical and urgent. Critical, criticizing Israel, and urgent because of the situation in the Gaza district. A lot of people already died. They have been suffering a lot. Let us go to editorial vocabulary. The very first one, indictment. How do you pronounce this? Indictment. Part of speech, noun. Meaning a formal charge or accusation of a serious crime. Please excuse me. I'm sorry about that. A serious crime, accusation of a serious crime. And also here you have to focus on formal charge or accusation of a serious crime. Yes. You have to recollect words like they are already there. Look at the example. The grand jury handed down an indictment against the suspect. Pronounced indictment against the suspect. The moment you come across jury, you have to recollect other words like committee, jury, staff, team. Important ones. And you have to recollect the rules that go with collective nouns. What are the two rules? Usually they take a singular verb, a singular pronoun. But if the sentence denotes division, the same collective nouns take a plural verb, a plural pronoun. Synonyms: charge, accusation, allegation, prosecution. All familiar words now. Antonyms: acquittal, exoneration, an important word. Absolution, pardon. When we say acquittal, here we have to recollect the word conviction. Acquittal, exoneration, absolution, another important word. Pardon, a simple word. Yes, Naidu, right. Here, all these words are very important. You got to have those words at your fingertips. Pronouns have brought the literal meaning, part of speech, verb. To make the sound of a word or part of a word, typically in the correct or a particular way. We all know this word. She learned to pronounce the difficult words correctly. A simple example. But I have brought this so that you learn important synonyms and antonyms. Here, articulate, to speak clearly, enunciate, same thing. Declare, in the context of the editorial, it means declare, state. But generally pronounced, we have to think of the words articulate and enunciate, enunciation, articulation, very important words, and they go with the way we speak. Mumble, mutter, whisper, silence is a simple word, but you got to know all these words. Mumbler, mumble, mutter. Speak in a low voice, a whisper. Veto, we have got many a time, part of speech, it can be a verb, it can be a noun. A constitutional right to reject a decision or proposal made by a lawmaking body. A lawmaking body makes a proposal or constitution resolution, and some other body rejects. That is known as a veto. The president, usually the prime minister, the president has the power to veto. The president, sometimes a particular country also, the president used his veto to block the bill. Yes, veto power. Synonyms: a rejection, prohibition, not exactly. You can use rejection, denial, not exactly. Annulment, yes, definitely. An important word. And here you have to recollect annul, annulment. But what is the other related word? Annals, chronicles, these two are synonyms. You make a note of events or incidents based on the time factor. You have to use these two, they are synonyms. You make a note, but not based on the time factor. You have to use the word archives. All the words are very important. Approval, consent, important word. Ratification, very important. We got yesterday also. Endorsement goes more with a product, a celebrity endorsing a particular product, though it is an important word. Genocide, an important word for two reasons. One reason, it has been given many a time in different competitive exams. And besides that, why is it important? We have the suffix to kill. Based on that, you have to recollect related words. Patricide, patricide, matricide, fratricide, homicide, infanticide, feticide. All these words, we have more, so many, but important ones. Killing one's father, patricide. Mother, matricide. Brother or sister. Don't think only brother or sister, fratricide. Homicide, one human being kills another human being. One person kills another person, homicide. Homo means man. Infanticide. Infant means what? A baby. Killing a baby, infanticide. Feticide, killing the baby in the mother's womb, that is called feticide. All these are important words. But what is the meaning of the word genocide? That deliberate killing of a large number of people from a particular nation or ethnic group. More than nation, here ethnic group, or I use the word a race, with the aim of destroying that group, eradicating that group. The international community condemned the genocide. Massacre, extermination, we got yesterday, Holocaust, annihilation. All these are very important words. You have to know for sure from the exam point of view. Preservation, protection, salvation, care. Other words are simple words. That also you can write. There are so many, that's what I said. Condemn, part of speech verb, to express complete disapproval of, typically in public. A particular person's act you disapprove publicly, that is known as condemn. Also, the word censure, important word. Example, the council condemned the actions of the rogue state. Usually, we use the word rogue with a person. He is a rogue, very bad word, but here, rogue state, a state that resorts to, let's say, does not listen or resorts to violence, something of that kind. Synonyms, denounce, an important word. Criticize, simple. Decry, important word. Already have written there, censure. Opposite words, praise, commend, commendable job, commendable work, laudable, endorse, approve. Retreat, part of speech verb, to move back or withdraw, especially from something dangerous or unpleasant. But usually it goes with battleground. The battleground, after seeing the enemy troops, a particular group of soldiers go back, then we use the word retreat. The army, see the example, the army had to retreat after the enemy attack. They had to go back. Have to, has to, had to. Here, it is in past. What is the function? It is used to express an obligation imposed by an external authority or a situation. Here, situation. Withdraw, pull back. Phrasal verb. Recede, an important word. But the word recede goes with usually tide, high tide, low tide, and during low tide, water level recedes, and also waves. Back off, back off also important phrasal verb. Berate, yes. Antonyms, advance, approach, proceed, attack, all simple words. Protract. Protract means to come forward, one meaning. Here, extend, another meaning. Part of speech, obviously, it's a regular verb. To prolong in time or space, to extend. Protracted means extended. The negotiations were protracted over several months, means extended for several months. prolong, extend, lengthen, stretch. All simple words, shorten, abbreviate. Abbreviation, noun form, abbreviate, verb. Curtail, an important word, though it goes with other context, reduce, simple word. Curtail the rights, one combination. Envoy, part of speech noun, a messenger or representative, especially one on a diplomatic mission. We use the word ambassador usually. The king sent an envoy to negotiate the peace treaty. What are the synonyms? Emissary, important word. Ambassador, we use regularly. Delegate, representative, they go with other contexts. Concise also you can think. There is no antonym for this word. Horrified, filled with horror, shocked greatly, or scared greatly. She was horrified by the gruesome details of the crime. Means filled with horror or got scared and shocked. Shocked, appalled, appalling, shocking, an important word. Terrified, we all know that. Aghast, important word. Unperturbed, perturbed means disturbed. Unperturbed, not at all disturbed. Indifferent, callous, stony, calm, unaffected, simple words. That's all about the vocabulary. Let us go to the editorial. What is a stimulus? Something happened recently. What happened? Three European countries have recognized the state of Palestine. Based on that, this has been written. That is a stimulus. Powerful symbolic value. Symbolic value. A symbol represents the emotions of a particular group or a particular country. Then we say symbolically important. Symbolic value. Or the recognition of Palestine. What is the main idea? The recognition of Palestine by more nations, excuse me, is an indictment of Israel. More and more nations recognize Palestine. In a way, it is like accusing or pointing out Israel for the crimes it has been committing since October 8th. October 7th, Israel was attacked. Ever since the very next day, it started, and it has been going on. It shows that, in a way, indirectly telling Israel how they feel, the nations. Indictment of Israel. The announcement, what are the three countries? The announcement by Ireland, Norway, and Spain of their intent means intention, to formally recognize the state of Palestine next week is one more important sign of the changing tide of international opinion that Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu cannot afford to ignore. Lengthy sentence, but very simple. It says three more countries have recognized the state of Palestine, and it only shows that the international tide means international changing tide of international opinion. Changing tide means changing stand or stance of the international opinion going against Israel, that Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu cannot afford to ignore. More and more countries are recognizing Palestine, and this cannot be ignored by Benjamin Netanyahu. There's one important expression here, cannot afford to ignore. Afford has two meanings. One meaning, afford means what? To be able to buy, to have enough money to buy. I can't afford that imported car. Means I cannot buy that imported car. I don't have enough money to buy that, to be able to buy. But afford also means, when I say I can't afford to do that, means what? I cannot take any chances. I can't afford to say that. I can't afford to do that. Means if I do that, I have to face the music. That means I have to face the negative consequences. I can't afford to do that. Based on that, he can't afford to ignore. It is something important. He cannot afford to ignore. That means if he ignores, he has to suffer. He has to face the music or the consequences. In just the past month, In the UN General Assembly, 143 countries, including India, passed a resolution, international tide going against Israel. And to substantiate that statement, in just the past month, in the UN General Assembly, 143 countries, huge number, including India, passed a resolution calling for the recognition of the Palestinian state by the UN Security Council, where the US has vetoed such a move. Unfortunately, the number 143, but one stroke, vetoed by the US, such a move, has vetoed present perfect tense active voice. Earlier this week, the international, I did yesterday also, earlier this week, the International Criminal Court prosecutor moved application for arrest warrants for Mr. Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant for operations after October 7 in Gaza, as well as the Hamas leadership for the terror attack that killed 1,200 in Israel, terming these as war crimes. We did, yesterday I did, last 2, 3 weeks I have been touching this particular topic. On May 24th, the International Court of Justice will pronounce, means publicly state, another verdict. Verdict means judgment in the petition by South Africa calling for additional measures in the prosecution of Israel for genocide. Once I did an editorial. South Africa filed a case in the International Court of Justice, the Hague. Where is it? The Hague. Accusing Israel uh, for genocide. Israel has denied, that's a different story. So, another verdict in the petition by South Africa calling for additional measures in the prosecution of Israel for genocide. The latest decision by the three countries that have been vocal, means very loud and clear, in their criticism of Israel, they join 8 EU members that have already recognized a Palestinian statehood. 8 EU members have already recognized, and the three countries, the Ireland, then you have to recollect the Irish Republic, Norway, Spain. But all this may not materially change the situation on the ground. Situation on the ground means, in reality, they may recognize Palestine, but it doesn't make any difference whatsoever in reality. But it is meant to be what the Irish Taoiseach Simon Harris referred to as an act of powerful political and symbolic value to Israel. Ground reality may not change, but it signifies something, symbolic value to Israel, especially as it essays what could be the final assault on Rafah. Now, Israel is preparing for the final assault attack on Rafah. At this stage, the different countries recognizing Palestine, obviously symbolic gesture, symbolic value. While practically every country has condemned Hamas's terror attacks, Mr. Harris said it would be a mistake to ignore the legitimate Palestinian government in the West Bank, saying that Hamas is not the Palestinian people. If you look at the statement given by Mr. Harris, beyond any doubt, the attack of Hamas criticized and condemned by every country across the world. But it would be a mistake to ignore. At the same time, it would be he opined, it would be a mistake to ignore the legitimate Palestinian government in the West Bank. We have to consider the legitimate right of the Palestinian government in the West Bank, saying that Hamas is not the Palestinian people. Palestinian people are different, Hamas is different. Hamas is labeled a terrorist group. They don't represent all the Palestinians. That one has to make the difference while deciding. Norway's Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Store said that the move aimed to support moderate forces that are on a retreating front in a protracted and cruel conflict. When the war continues for a long time, some moderate forces may step back, retreat, Looking at that situation or scenario, this would the support from these three countries definitely will support the moderate forces. Norway Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Store said that the move aimed to support moderate forces that are on a retreating front in a protracted, extended, and cruel conflict going on since October 8th. Spain's action, each country, the reason behind the editorial is trying to tell us. The Spain's action followed its denial of port facilities to a Danish flagged ship with explosive material from India meant for Israel, which it said was a firm policy now. Coming to Spain, Spain's action followed its denial, saying no, of port facilities to a Danish flagged ship with explosive material from where? From India, meant for Israel, which it said was a firm policy now. Israel's response, based on all this, what is the response of Israel? Israel's response, however, has been present perfect active voice to recall its envoys and summon the envoys of all three countries for a dressing down. Means reducing the number. That's what a country does. First, they call the envoys of the same country, then they call the envoys of the other countries, and they may cut down the numbers, reduce the staff. Summon, an important word you have to recollect. As a noun, summons singular, and what is a plural? Summonses. Very important from the exam point of view. In the immediate future, the multiple messages of near global consensus are meant to push Israel's government to rethink its plans for Rafah, to stop more civilian losses, and to allow humanitarian and free access into Gaza. Now, Gaza access restricted. More and more countries recognize Palestine as a state. Definitely, that will make Israel rethink its plans to attack Rafah and also rethink allowing or providing free access into Gaza so that food can be supplied. That's what the sentence means. In the immediate future, the multiple messages of near global consensus means what? Agreement without any difference of opinion are meant to push Israel's government to rethink two things. One, its plans for Rafah, and second, to allow humanitarian aid, free access into Gaza. But in the longer term, they are meant to remind Mr. Netanyahu that even if he has disassociated himself from the two state solution, Israel doesn't want to accept. Israel has disassociated, Benjamin Netanyahu also, himself from the two state solution. This is something the world believes is a roadmap to peace. Entire world thinks the roadmap to peace is two nation theory, but Israel does not believe in that. By turning deaf to these messages, turning deaf means ignoring. Mr. Netanyahu is only furthering his isolation, especially from an international community that came out in full sympathy on October 7th, but has grown increasingly horrified by the military campaign since then. Its same idea is being reiterated. If Mr. Netanyahu ignores all these, turns a deaf ear, that means ignores the messages, further isolation, already Israel has been isolated. It results in further isolation, especially from an international community. And this international community had the sympathy with Israel on October 7th. But ever since, after that, what happened? Grown increasingly horrified by the military campaign since then. Yesterday also we came across military campaign. About 35,000 innocent civilians got killed, especially women and children. I think it ends on that note. That's all about the editorial. And have a nice day. Thanks for being with me till the fag end of the session. Do remember to subscribe.